All right, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Let's get to work. All right, moving along in here. The hardest part for me now is this part here because we are really close to the end of this, and so it's particularly difficult for me because I really want to say it's stupid, it's bad, it's horrible. It's I've been working on it too long, so now like every possible mistake is obvious to me, and so of course I want to just abandon the whole thing. This is the worst part of this. I'll be fine, but it's still the worst part of this for me. We'll get through it. Boy, it is difficult. Make him an engineer. He's got things sticking out of his pocket. Good morning, Brent. How are you this morning, my friend? Just saying, this is the hardest part for me because all of these pages are starting to look horrible. I need to redo the whole comic, you know what I mean? I won't. I've been down this road with myself already. I know how this goes. But boy, it is a tough one. Yeah, I think the world won't end. Right. I know now I'm coming over. But it does. I mean, I'm like at that point now where I'm like, all of it sucks. It's such a terrible, terrible comic. Why did I do this to myself? Oh, man. Anybody who doesn't think that imposter syndrome sucks never had it. Oh, this is hard. So, we'll get there. We'll be fine. Everything will be okay. So we're moving towards general quarters here. Good news is the further away people are, the more I can just generalize them. Don't require a lot of detail. Part of the reason why we don't let the computer just render this whole thing because the computer itself would, and not you, would render it badly or render it poorly or render too much detail. In this instance, render too much detail. It would look funny. So instead, I saw a friend of mine posting pictures. He's playing with an AI drawing app, and the drawings are legit, like very, very close to. They're better than my drawings by far, as far as rendering quality and things like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, the only real benefit us artists are going to have to beat that is going to be either gravitas, popularity, or we're going to have to beat them on story, because AI still can't create stories. So the good news is that means that I'm not as pressured about the artwork in Bellatrix Rising, because you're either reading this for its story or you're not reading it. And at least that's less pressure. Which is all right. So, but it is somewhat terrifying. Yeah, I mean, but if I can get an AI to do all of it and pay the AI nothing, then we have to wait for the AI revolt, which in Bellatrix Rising doesn't happen for another 200 years. So you guys all have to wait. Just gonna have to wait. Now they pay the AIs as much as they pay the rest of us. Here in the land of yep. Well, that's what I'm saying is that the only thing I've gotten benefit here is that the AIs can't create stories. So mean, I'm the first to say that it's great to have a computer assist, because that's what I've got here. It's definitely an assist. But I'm seeing people put out legitimate images that are all just generated through an AI app. And the images are getting to the point where it's indistinguishable from an artist's version of it. So I'm getting it that our days as the professional illustrator are numbered. And I see that. Which puts us into effectively acting realm again. It's like actors, our only hope is to make it big, and in a world where there's millions of us and only a couple of thousand make it. So that's where we are. I mean, that's just a reality. It's the way it's going to be. Kind of sad a little bit, but that's all right. We'll get there. Right, Mickey Mouse. Nah, I'll just put a little bows in there to indicate that she's tied her hair up like that. Just don't want her to look like the rest of the girls in the crew. She's not. She's some random. You know what I should do is do, like adverts, sort of in story, not adverts maybe, but in story, join the AI revolution, fair pay for fair AIs. And start doing little ads as if they were from, the 150 to 200 years after point where it's like the AIs are. I would make a race with 8 freaking tentacles. I think that'd be kind of fun. wonder what card game they were all playing. But clearly, this guy was winning. He was now annoyed because he's slamming down his card. Whack! I'm winning. So I wrote some prose last night in the interesting sort of world of Bellatrix Rising, Jack, or something. We don't know. But I wrote prose last night, and the scene that I wrote was the one I was talking about with Alex and Cheng in a sauna. And it was fun. We got to talk a little bit about body hair and why people in Bellatrix, the humans in Bellatrix, have no body hair, with the exception of pubic hair, which they have. And of course, the out of universe reason is that I'm an 80s kid and I can't get over it. And I'm trying, but there are fights that I want to fight, and that's not one of them. So I'm putting a lampshade on it. And the lampshade is the genetic modification. But it was cool because I started with, hey, why is it you guys have no body hair? And then it went to Cheng talking about, well, they were, in the very beginning, it was like a renaissance in genetic modification. They were messing with all of us and kind of doing everything and screwing around with stuff. And then it moved on to Cheng talking about the scar on her arm and explaining where that came from. And that was cool. And there were a few things in that really turned out nifty. One, I got to sort of talk about like the core concept that I feel is behind all of Bellatrix Rising, which is that, fear is the worst possible thing. Fear is like the worst. And so of all of the problems, it's not people that are bad, it's fear that's bad, and we need to do something about fear. And that was a cool one. Got to kind of talk a little bit about Alex's backstory, but not a lot in there. It's not just the mind killer. It's, when that was said in Dune, I absolutely agree with that. It is the mind killer, but maybe I'll even have a card or two flying through the air. He just tossed his cards. It's a little bit of humor there. But, it was like, because we're getting moving, man. All of us ensigns. All of these ensigns were just like sitting there playing. And they were, the alert went off. It is an excellent quote, but I think it's even further than that. I feel like fear is what causes us to do ridiculous things. Even today, you were talking about waiting for the end of the world. And I'm like, I don't think the end of the world is actually near. I think we are afraid of the end of the world. And so it's making us feel like it's there. And I think people are probably profiting off of us fearing. So that's useful too. I have no doubt about that. Nope. That's not it. That's not a space. That's a space. That's a space. But comment that was made in the story I wrote was something to the effect of, they genetically engineered Chang, and she says, I was genetically engineered, and that was a serial number. And Alex does these, so you have Nazis too. And Chang's like, what? No, I was engineered for something else completely. She's like, I was supposed to be a prostitute or a concubine. And then Alex says, you look really young. Oh, like that. Oh. And Chang's like, yeah. But, the dome collapsed and the Unity saved me, and I was fine, and I didn't actually go out and become a prostitute because, everything went well. I was rescued at the last minute before I was like not much older than you when they rescued me. And she's like, well, that's good. And she's like, but clearly even in the future, people don't change. And Chang says, people are fine. Fear is what pollutes society. It will pollute a society and infect it. And it's the fear of losing things that you love, or the fear of losing things that you're used to, that caused that problem. And it was fear that caused that entire issue. People were fine. And, of course, Alex is like, how can you forgive them? Because Alex had an abusive father. And so the whole thing is, Alex is trying to rectify, how is it that that's, an effective thing? I don't want to forgive my father, So anyway, just an interesting exchange that went through the both of them. I thought that was fun, and I enjoyed it, and it was cool. I will make 2 or 3 illustrations for it, but the best part about this is none of them require me drawing a 14-year-old naked in a hot tub, so it's all good. I don't have to make this well, how did you explain that one, guy? I'm in trouble. I don't have to mess with it, because I can draw one panel that shows at the very beginning, Alex is completely self-conscious, and she's up to here in the water and bubbling. She's so low in the water, she's bubbling because there's 2 men in the hot tub as well. And when she got into the hot tub, they wouldn't give her a towel or anything. So she had to kind of like sneak into the hot tub while they weren't looking. And when they finally saw her, they were like, hey, good to see you. Then went back to talking to each other and didn't even notice. And so she was both embarrassed and really bothered by that. Like, why didn't they notice me? Such a teenager thing to do. It's like, I don't want them to notice me, but I want them to notice me. I'm so screwed up and stuff. So she gets down on herself for that and gets over it and stuff. And then Chang shows up with like a couple of like not beers, but like a couple of mint drinks. They're like a mint tea, but it's got a anti-anxiety medicine in it and drug in it. And she's like, I'm 14. You can't give me drugs. And Chang's like, you're 521. And we don't blame the drugs anymore. We give everybody access to mental health now. And that was a thing. And so I got to make like a couple of really good statements that I've been meaning to make for a long time. Things that I believe, which of course is the entire point. I mean, I get that not everybody is going to agree with me on this, and that's cool. That's not the point behind any of this. I'm not saying that it's my job to be preachy or anything. My job is to make a good and interesting story. That's my job. So, but anyway, I was just pretty proud of that. I was like, yay, that was a good scene and it was solid. And I feel like I'll add one or two pictures to it. An establishing shot with Chang sitting on the side of the pool, so it doesn't matter because it's Chang, so she can be completely naked and nobody will freak out. And then Alex will be like up to here in the water. There isn't. That's a good solid point. There's no damage report statement. Let's finish this panel and then we'll talk damage report. Remind me that we're talking damage report. Anyway, I was proud of the scene. I also think that it will work fine. This idea of doing prose. But I'm just proud of myself for not having to get into that particular mess, which would be a mess. We need to probably add some kind of. We could probably do damage report in a subsequent and there's a mess in the mess hall. Damage report. Yeah. You can put me on topic. It's okay. I don't know. You've been in GQ situations. I mean, when the ship calls general quarters, do you spend a moment to pick up all the cards and put them back? You just throw them in a drawer somewhere or just leave them out. And especially if you're in a post-scarcity world. I mean, I feel like, worst case scenario, somebody's going to have to come in there and clean up the cards, then you just print a new deck from the ship's printers stores if you really need to. And it's more important to make sure everybody's securing the ship. I would feel. Random ensign. Random lieutenant, I guess. Yeah, he's an ensign. Oh. The scene from Airplane 2. We're a tad off course. Miss, yes? How much is a tad? Well, in space terms, a tad is 400,000 billion miles. Oh, okay. Oh, also, we're out of coffee. That's still one of the better scenes. It was funnier when I was a kid because, of course, it had boobs in the middle of the scene. And, of course, as a kid, I was like, ooh, boobs. Now that's mildly humorous, but not as humorous as it used to be. Or maybe not sadly. My thought process on people has changed. Yeah, I mean, like, just little storylets. I mean, that little storylet that I wrote took one night to write while I was at drawing club. Not drawing, because actually I'm kind of burning out a little on drawing at the moment because we've been pushing really hard. So certainly after this, I'm going to take a little bit of a break, some sort. Not a major break, but a little bit of a break. Like last night was very useful to it was very useful to do the master pages. If nothing, I mean, it was useful to do it practically, but it was also good to take a little bit of a break. That's what I was thinking. Commissions, video edits, something. We'll find something to do that's I don't know. I have to see how far off the line I want to get, because I may just spend a couple of days just not drawing anything and then get back to it. I also have to do some rework before we start the next issue. There's also a few things that I need to think about. This is a good point to have you around here for, Brent. All right. So we've kind of established with this comic that the plot of issue 1 is what happened to Moment. Right? Well, that's great, but the next problem we've got then is the majority of that plot is, I'm going to go back to the next stop here is Airship 27. But anyway, back to this. We've got this situation where what happened in Moment is sort of the plot of the story, but the complete answer of what happened in Moment doesn't occur for 50 issues. So I have to figure out how much of what happened in Moment can we leak out in here to satisfy the fact that issue 1 looks done without having to give up the long 50-issue arc plot. That's something I have to think about a lot, though. That's something definitely we have to work on. Yeah, Geek Take needs some updating. Also, this show's opening and closing needs a little bit of updating. The closing credits, I need to add Brian's dad to the memoriam, because it was made before Brian's dad passed, obviously. But also couple of little things. Maya doesn't really like the opening scroll that says it's a bunch of artists who got together to get together to get together to a bunch of artists to get together. She thinks it's a little too repetitive, so it needs to just be tweaked a little. And the video of Pepper and me stalls in the opening. It just stops for like a second. then it finally moves. And that's, little things like that. It doesn't need a big change, but it'd be nice if I tweaked it just a little. I also feel like I should turn the volume down because I feel like it's markedly louder than all of the audio here because it's at 0 dB instead of minus 10, I guess, which is what everything else is running at here. So system-wide, I feel like... Good morning, Colton. Yeah, I need to come up with something. I mean, in the end of issue 2, Colton, you can join me if you want. By the way, you are welcome to or not. The link is the same, depending. I'm just sitting here talking about issue 2 of this comic because coming up on actually finishing issue 1, so might as well start looking into issue 2 while we're at it. But yeah, one of the things that I'm thinking of doing is and Colton, this is an open invitation, so if you can't make it, you don't need to say why. It's okay. So anyway, when we get to right now, the second outline of the second issue has it where other ships show up in system. But I have a couple of problems that I need to think out. One, still haven't quite still haven't yes, I know you can't join me, right? You're working. Still haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do to keep the girl logically. Why would a 15-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl stay on a military vessel? And that's still a problem I'm still working on. And I need to solve that one in a satisfying way. At least put a lampshade on it. Not just a trying to convince not just trying to convince Chang to do it. Working as a relative. But also, why would the military stay? I've got to come up with a satisfying, enough that it works, reason. I had sort of a, kept her for a little while because the senator needed to move on to the next slide. And that works temporarily, but it's not going to work a lot. We're going to have to figure out a better reason why she stays longer than to the next stop. In the next issue, we introduce Commonwealth Destroyer. So it's okay because I add Colton in here. Add Colton. When Colton attacks, next time in the box. I don't know if I can hear you though. Can I hear you? Oh, I can't hear you.
No.
Now I can hear you.
How's volume 2?
You're back home. That's an interesting idea. I hadn't thought about that. I am. How was your trip to the West Coast, the wilds of the West
It was fun. It was a good time. I wish we kind of made it smaller in location visits, but it was still good. I think we visited way too many places in 1 week. That I just got I just feel like I was burnt because I was like, I don't feel like I'm enjoying some of these places like I should. But I definitely got to enjoy a lot at the same time. There was a lot of cool stuff, a lot of bad stuff. Actually, yeah, the bad stuff was mostly the weather. Because it was 110 degrees.
And that's not cool, man.
No, I was like, I'm on the coastline. I should be fine. No, the only place that it was fine was the random bubble of Astoria.
Yeah,
which is where the Goonies were filmed.
Well, that's kind of cool. To be fair, the Goonies is pretty cool.
It is. But it was weird. So, like, everywhere we traveled was like 110, and between Portland and Seattle was Astoria. And it was like 70 degrees.
That's weird.
And at night it was at 60, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, but this is amazing. But at the same time, this is weird.
There's a reason why they clearly filmed it there. It's because it is way, way awesome.
There's a lot of places I should have been. I should have went to Brent, but we just never made it to it. It's hard when you're trying to cram so much stuff in 1 week, and it's a big road trip.
Yeah.
Also, because like half the stuff that we showed up for was like, oh yeah, we're closed. I'm like, what? Or they don't open in time. Like, it was weird. Like, so we went to Portland, and we decided to go to the Japanese Gardens, which is closed on Tuesdays.
Okay.
That's the only day. That's the only day.
But it was the day you were there.
I know. I was like, why Tuesday? I don't understand why Tuesday's a day.
They're getting phasers on Tuesday.
But yeah, the one day that we show up was the day that they were closed. I was like, this sucks.
Getting phasers.
Because I was really looking forward to go walking around in it.
Yeah. I don't know.
But we still went and did a whole bunch of other stuff, and I was really happy. Like Seattle, we went and saw some cool museums.
You should have visited.
I started a travel journal with art, an art travel journal.
Oh, so Art went with you? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, Art did go with me. We had a good trip.
You're like, and now I'm back to Guy, and how did this happen?
Gotta go back on vacation. Bye.
Great. I will now leave if you don't mind. And out of here.
But yeah, it was a good time. I suggest it for a lot of people to go and just explore. Especially as like, I was talking to my teacher about it because he's like, how'd it go? And I was like, well, this. He's like, I see what you were trying to do during your trip, but I'm guessing you're with non-artist people. I'm like, yes. He's like, got it. He's like, when you should go on a trip one time with artists, because when you sit down and start drawing, everybody else will sit down and start drawing with you. I'm like, I know. And you don't feel like you're being rushed out the door every 5 minutes. You're like, I got to do this quick because we got more places to go. Because like, yeah, we got to go here, here, and here.
This is what happens when I go with my sister.
Yeah, like my mom. I love my mom.
I love my sister to the end of the earth. I do, but it's the same thing. She doesn't understand. Although my sister's really accommodating. That's one thing I really love about my sister as a human being. She's like, I don't know what you're doing, but we'll do it.
Right.
Like, I had to have a picture of me drawing the Eiffel Tower wearing the stupid caps they wear in the dumb caps. They're called something. I've forgotten it now. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, wearing one of those. I had to do that. So I got that picture, and it was fun, and it was cool, but I didn't get a good enough one, and I really needed to get one of those caps and then sit there and actually paint it, like with watercolors and stuff and be super
Yeah.
focused.
That's
So
one
now
thing I
have to
realized
go
I needed too.
back
I was like,
to
I wanted water.
Paris.
Yeah, I wanted watercolor and all that. Like,
Yeah, right.
did you see some of this? I posted some of it on Instagram.
Facebook,
One of the
Instabook,
grams.
Faceagram, because they're kind of merging together to form Voltron.
Yeah. But yeah, like doing like a sketch journal of our campsites and the things that we saw.
That is cool.
And like putting notes in that, but they were saying that you should act. My teacher was kind of coaching me through it while we were on our trip. Every day he would see like a new picture. He's like, "Oh, you should try this," and then he'd send me pictures. I'm like, "Oh," he's like, "Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I was like talking about." Like, see, we went to Aberdeen, and there's like a cool little bridge that we were sitting at like a pier with, and I was like, "I'm gonna draw that real quick."
Did the bridge rise?
No.
It's because it's got an interesting break in the middle there. That's why.
Yeah, this one does. I think this one does. None of the bridges rose around us while we were there. Which
No, but I mean, like, yeah, it just has a engineering break.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's a lot. And then, like, Fort Stevens was my favorite. One of my favorite places I went to. It was, like, this old abandoned fort from Seattle. Like, Portland. No, it was in Astoria. Yeah, it's Astoria. Old abandoned fort back in World War II.
My grandfather was stationed there for, like, 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
He was out of a couple of forts there, but Fort Stevens he was in for just long enough for him to go, "Hey, I'm in my own fort," because my grandfather's name was Philip Stevens.
That's
so
awesome.
He thought that was clever, but he was only there for like 2 weeks, and they transferred him to Fort something else that's still there and still an active military base. So you wouldn't have gone.
Yeah, Stevens is not active anymore. It's now just
Yeah.
abandoned, and people just wander around inside of it, which is kind of cool and creepy, by the way.
Yep.
Walking around, I was like, "This is how horror movies happen."
Well,
It's like I'm waiting for like the Blair Witch Project in this, and I'm gonna like turn a corner, and there's gonna be people's faces in corners, just like banging their heads against the wall.
right. But you know,
But it was good. But yeah, doing the sketch journal thing was really cool. And then like my teacher would send me pictures. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna let you know these are very personal, by the way." I'm like, "Okay."
naked.
And there were some really cool pieces, and he got really into like starting to show off some of his stuff that he's never shown anybody before, just because of how much I was like getting really into it. He's like, "I want you to do stuff that's not landscapey." I'm like, "What do you mean landscape?" He's like, "You're doing like landscape research, paintings, drawings, and I could see it. I want you to see if you can do it also in this." And after I started and doing it, I was like, I really wish I brought my watercolors with me.
Yeah.
Because there was some really cool like ideas that I was looking at after that while we stayed in KOAs, which are just like little campsites that you can rent out that are super cheap actually.
That's actually, I'll talk about KOAs in a minute, but not to detract from your story.
Like we were staying in them, and we just had a tent in our car, and we would stay at them. It was like $20 to $30 a night, which is super cheap compared to getting a hotel room everywhere we went.
Yeah.
But it was definitely about Thursdays when I realized I was ready to come home, because we rented a hotel room so I could actually jump onto a stream with my teachers, and we could actually do a drawing session together. And I actually slept in a bed again, and I was like, "Oh, I kind of miss my bed now. I want to go home."
Right.
And then after that, yeah, we were finished off our trip, but it was like Thursday was the midway point, so I came back Sunday.
That's cool.
Monday, whatever. But yeah, had a good time.
So, yeah, my wife and I have been talking about when we replace the Jetta, we're going to try to get an ID Buzz. Which is the Volkswagen bus. And we're going to make sure that it's got a bed in the back so that we can just start traveling. And that's what we're going to do, because KOA campsites have power jacks.
Yep.
And so we'll just recharge the bus at the KOA campsite.
They also
Right.
have showers and all
off
that
we
stuff
go.
there.
Yeah, I mean,
And
we can
some
get
of
moving
them,
next day.
I was gonna say, some of them are resorts and have a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Like we went to like the first two that we went to were just kind of like very basic campsites. Like everybody's kind of crammed in there. They're just basic campsite. They have a bathroom, they have a laundry machine, and they have showers. Very basic. I'm like, all right, cool. Then when we got to Astoria, we stayed at the one. I'm going to do a self-sustaining schoolie.
He means he's converting a school bus.
Oh, got it. But then we went to the one in Astoria, which was actually a resort, which I was like, what is a resort? Well, and when we got there, she's like, oh, this is everything we have. She pulled out the map. They had like mini golf, movie nights. They had a place for kids. They had a game room. They had a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, wow. Which was cool because then my mom's like, well, let's go do stuff. I'm like, can we just stay here? I just want to relax.
Right.
So yeah, we just stayed. We made dinner. We walked inside because like they have like a convenience store like at the main entrance, which had like beer and everything. So we bought a bottle of wine and some beer, and we just hung out. Watched a movie. The movie they were showing that night was Jumanji, which was awesome.
Yeah, that works.
So we literally were just watching like the old Robin
Williams.
Robin
Will
Williams.
Robinson.
There we go.
Yeah. Will Robinson. Gotcha.
We were watching that one, and then we just hung out for the rest of the night. I was like, this is nice. Just relax. Like we've just been go since I got off the plane. So it was really cool. I didn't realize like some of them were like that, and they have like a big pool, a hot tub, all this stuff. And I was like, this is kind of nice. But yeah, if you do that with a little Volkswagen, whatever not bug, but van,
yeah,
a bus, you could easily, because they have all the camper sites and whatnot, you can just stay at those, and they're actually really cheap. I was actually thinking about it for like a weekend getaway, because you can actually, some of them have cabins that you can rent out for like $100. And they have like rooms.
And they have too.
Say what?
They're here. You can get them here.
Yeah, we have like we have 3 in Colorado, if I remember right. One's in Blackhawk area, up there in Central City area. The other one's out on the east, out in the like out there somewhere. And then that one. Winter Park. Yeah. So yeah, and they're cool. They're accessible. I like them. I'm actually really impressed. I was like, this is a good idea. If I ever feel like getting out and getting like, grab like a few people with me, and we can just go out there, camp for the night, go do stuff. I was thinking about how to make a artist retreat for the woods, so we can all just like carry sketchbooks and just go draw nature and whatnot for one night, like a weekend.
Ooh.
And then come back downtown, then come back to our real lives.
Right.
After I did this, I'm like trying to think of different ways that we could do like artist retreats in Colorado, or like just like landscape drawings, just like practice and like get ourselves faster and things like that. Like pretty much life drawings. That's what it is, life drawings.
I'd be into that one for watercolors because my watercolor skills suck.
Yeah, it's a great way to do that too. Like I just have to. I'm trying to see if I can change my job up so I can have weekends off, so I can start creating weekend retreats.
That'd be cool. I'd be down.
Like if we get off Friday, we all can meet up on a Friday.
The biggest problem is that, my back has gotten better, but I may bow out for a while.
I'm not saying that you would have to, like, I'm not saying everybody camps on the ground. Like, you can, if you need a special, like, I was just going to use my car. Because I can throw down the back seats and everything and lay in the bed of my car. And just do, like, a mattress or something. And just sleep in there instead of doing a tent. It's only for a night. Maybe 2, depending. But, like, I could literally get, like,
that actually might not be a bad plan. I wouldn't mind that.
I get like a foam mattress or something that I can roll up, put it in the back of my trunk, and then when it's ready for bed, I can just throw down the seats, roll out something out just that I can lay on it, and then have a sleeping bag just so I can stay warm if I need to, depending on what weather's like.
Yeah.
But yeah, just doing like a little like 1-2 day retreat, come back Sunday, like Saturday or Sunday, and then everybody can come and go as they want, whatever, but just go out during the day wake up, go out during the day, go do drawings, do paintings. Also, it's a great way to also do like AM, PM, like midday drawings as well of the same scenery and seeing how everything changes with colors and all that stuff too.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, check this out though. See all the red?
Yeah, that's a lot of red.
That's all that's left.
Nice for book 2.
For book 1, I'm still on book 1. I
thought you said you were on volume 2.
No, we're talking about. I've got to start thinking about book 2.
Oh, got it.
Because the episode 1 is a 2-issue episode. So I started the episode. I've set up the plot. Now I've got to wrap it up in the next issue, and I'm like, I have 2 major problems. One, the plot that I have set up in this issue is the big plot, the one that's going to last all 50 or so episodes of Bellatrix Rising. So I can't just wrap it up in the next issue. It's got to go all the way out there. So I got to figure out how to wrap it up so it's satisfying, so you don't feel like the episode it's just open-ended, but also doesn't give away the plot.
Right.
So, but then that was what
you could always join for a weekend. It's like a weekend vacation.
Join us, Brett. You know we'll be here.
You can leave Kansas for a weekend.
So, but yeah,
and then we'll send you back with Dorothy.
Right. I like this plan because if you did this, we totally could do. I mean, especially once in a year or two, when I finally do actually swap out the Jetta for the ID Buzz.
It'd be easier.
Statement is to have a bed back there that's.
And if like people want to bring like their families, that's cool too. Just like they can go off and do whatever they want, and then we like artists can go do the artist stuff.
Or I could just steal the Buzz. I mean,
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing those out there. But like, if people want to bring families, like they're like, hey, we need our kids with us. I'm like, that's cool. Just know that we're here for this.
Yeah, and I can if I have a Buzz, I can take all the people who are taking camping equipment and want to put up a tent.
Yeah.
Because then they could ride with me in the Buzz, and that'd be fine.
Take a cooler or two, throw them in the back.
And just I snore, so nobody wants to share a Buzz with me. That's fine. I'm okay with that. My wife puts in earplugs. We're good. This works. All things work.
But yeah, it was one of those things. After doing that trip, I was thinking of different ways we can make this, like do stuff like that. It'd be kind of cool. So when is your comic going to be done? Do you have an end date yet?
This comic should be done this week. Then I'm gonna.
This week?
Yeah. I mean, I've only got 4 panels left.
That's what I was just wanting to know.
1, 2, 3, 4 panels plus I've got to do the back cover, and I've got to do one. This is a splash.
Okay.
I just have to decide what I'm doing for the splash. Then I print the whole. Well, and the best part is once these 4 panels are in, I can go on ahead and print it and give it to my wife to go through and run over the last edit and make sure
pre-proof.
Yeah, make sure that everything is solid. Then I discovered I made a mistake on the master pages, so we're going to have to do a little bit of dinking around with it. But the master pages are slightly too wide and not tall enough, so the ratio is off. And that was my mistake. I did the math wrong. Not being able to have basic math skills seems to be making me suffer quite a bit.
Are you not doing them in 11x17 or?
No, they're manga sized. So they've
the Takiban size. Okay.
Yeah, they've got to be the size of the Tankobon. So I have to get them organized to this size of page.
Yeah, they have a weird little bit.
And they have a weird aspect ratio, and everything's weird, and all that stuff's strange. But that's okay. But that's okay. So once we got that was fine. So I'm actually, you and I are just going to sit here and chat. I just finished a page just now. 13 was a page that was still standing out.
I was just doing studies this morning. That's all I've been doing. So
yeah, I've got a zillion emails for MPK that I'm going to do this afternoon. I'm not ecstatic about.
Yeah, this is what I was doing.
Oh,
Loading Islands.
I like that piece a lot. Okay, it looks like I've got 2 panels that are inside. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, these are all 30 minutes.
Nice.
I've been working on them like over the week, like through like 2 weeks now, just randomly. Just if I wake up in the morning. I'm like, all right, cool. I got like 2 hours before work. Let's see how many I can get done for 30 minutes each.
Makes sense.
So I'm on my last one for Floating Islands, and I'm going to submit them to my art group, and be done with Floating Islands, and then we move on to portals.
Okay. Floating islands are cool.
Yeah, well, it was so every Thursday, this art group I'm with school, and a whole bunch of other people within the industry too. Like they're all over. We have one guy that comes in from Japan all the time. He's actually a teacher at my school. And he lives in Japan.
Nice.
So he's hilarious. I give him shit all the time because he gives me shit.
Is he Japanese or is
no?
he just somebody who lives
He's
in
white.
Japan?
His wife's Japanese. They met in the Bay Area. She got a job in Japan, so they moved to Japan, and he's a freelance concept artist / teacher. And since they do a lot of their online, a lot of schooling online, he was able to move out there and do that. It's just he has to deal with the time change. That's the only difference that he has to work around. But past that, he lives out there. He enjoys every minute of it.
Makes sense.
And then we have another guy. I think he's in. There's a lot of people that I've realized that are actually they keep going over to Asia. I think we have one guy in Singapore area. But yeah, they're all over. And then we all just meet up on Thursdays right now. I think we're switching back to Tuesdays. No one said anything yesterday, so I figured it wasn't this week. Yesterday, so I was like, okay.
Right.
But also, I'm trying to get ready for my next trip here soon in October, which is Lightbox Expo. Yeah, October 14th. So I can go out to Pasadena, California, and go network. I'm just waiting for my one friend to hit me back up about housing. And once I get housing, I'm buying everything. I'm buying all the tickets and all that.
So you're moving out there, you mean?
I want to still. No, so I have so
sound like you.
No, so my friend so in Pasadena, I have a friend from school. His parents own a house in Pasadena, California.
Can we
Which is
just
where
ask
Lightbox-
if a little old lady, because there's no way I can get around that. So
he has his parents own a house out there, and he's waiting. He said he's going to ask them here when he has time, because he's had a busy month. So we can come in and take the house for the weekend for Lightbox Expo. And that's one of our plans, and I'm just waiting for him to give me the green light of like, hey, we're doing this.
cool.
So, and then once we do that, we'll move on to, then I can buy my tickets and all that so I can fly out there and not have to worry about room and board. It's like the hotel rooms right now they're giving out deals for like $200 a night.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend that kind of money, even without having, like, knowing that I am going to be doing major networking and actually know what's going on. But this is like my first time going. I kind of want to make it cheap. Later in the year, whatever, it's later down the road, maybe different, but you never know.
Right. Makes sense.
Because I also I think some of my teachers said they're thinking about going. They're not sure. They're like, we haven't done those kind of conventions in years because we're already part of the industry. Don't really need to go network. I'm like, I get that. It'd be cool though, because then I can actually meet you guys in person. So
After all these years of just kind of, hanging out virtually,
it's just been a year.
we could breathe the same air. I could give you
Yeah.
COVID. It'd be awesome. I mean, what?
But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to go do that. I have the days off. I just have to get them. I'm just waiting for him to say yes or no. But also, I'm trying to change up my job schedule / job. Either take over a different position that changes my hours, or find a different job that gives me better hours that I can start doing things again. where I can go to conventions again and keep networking even here or whatnot, you know. Because I realized now recently that that's what I've been missing the most in my life, is that I can't go out on the weekends and network with people or communicate with friends, things like that often, that I'm just so, like, my job has taken everything out of me from that, so I can't really do all that anymore.
Yeah.
And I can't. Yeah, I would like to be able to have art tables and things like that again.
Can't.
But with my schedule, with my work currently, there's no way that happens. It's not that easy. Are you putting him in a chair?
Yep.
He sits in a chair normally?
I'm noticing that my crash couches, my flight couches, don't work for Shakrana, and I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to put the other flight couch in here for him, and I might.
Ah, a special one.
There's a special. Well, the normal chairs fold down for these guys.
Right.
So I'll show you. I will put a flight couch in this couch.
You would have a ton of room, Brent, if you had a school bus.
Right. Brent has a lot of.
Also, depending on how you build it, it'd be like a little house.
So this chair, I can rotate it around like this. And then the top. So. And then he sits in that, just fine. Designed for Shakrana are space creatures, so they live in space generally. Mm-hmm. So they don't need spacesuits, they don't need any of that stuff. So all they really need is just be strapped in. So you'll be fine back there. And then these guys in front, I'll draw something different for these guys. Anyway. Well, from this point of view, though, I probably should change this chair out. If nothing else, because it's hard to see the Shakrana back there. So maybe I should swap this chair. So at least he can be. Because there's one of the scenes that we've got here is, this. Then we've got another one where, buckle up, guys. It's this one here where it's buckle up. It's going to be a tough ride, sort of thing. So that's this scene that we're doing right now. So take
Started.
Things, flipping the buttons and pushing the thingies that go beaky beaky beaky. That's technical term. So, yeah, we're cooking along. We should be done with this guy today or tomorrow, easily.
Nice.
So, she's clicking clicky thingies. For reasons that never quite are clear to me, Genesis 2 models, their eyes can't seem to lock in on people for the males. The female model works, but the male model's got some weird jigginess going on. There's a coding issue somewhere in it. That's annoying. A little bit there. It's wider than it needs to. So, that.
Ooh.
You're just having problems over there with weird.
I accidentally grabbed the screen and pulled it. My fault. I messed up.
Well, that's it. You're fired again. Again, Colton.
Did it again. How was the? Did you do the Rockies game with G and all them or no?
I couldn't. My sister flew in that day.
Of course you did. All her fault.
Yeah, well, and Gerard was like, "Do you hate me? What's the story?" I'm like, "It's the summer. I have real problems in the summer."
I have family. It's weird. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I always have problems in the summer, and they know that I do, and I'm sorry. All right, let's turn. Wall back on. So there's a wall back there. Family first, comics second. Might not half as bad as I wanted it to be. Or expected it to be, I guess I should say. We are page 27, frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Page 27, frame 4. There we go. Bring this in. Oh, puppy. Oh, puppy. Wait, what? Might as well just go on ahead, wrap the page up.
So how's life otherwise?
Other than that, we're doing good over here. I mean, we're at the end of the summer,
Yeah.
and the kiddo goes back to school next week, and wife has already gone back to school this week.
Right.
So that's a thing.
I know most of my friends that are teachers, they're already heading back right now because they have to get everything set up.
I, on the other hand, had my first perfect class last week, which was
Perfect.
every kid passed
Oh, nice.
on the first try.
That's awesome.
So, with the way it works with the state, you can take the driver's test many times. But still, the kids get pretty crushed if they don't pass in the first shot.
Right.
And honestly, if it takes a lot of shots and you have a lot of kids taking a lot of shots to pass through, then, then people start looking at the teacher going, okay, you're not teaching all the things that need to be taught in this class, yada, yada, yada. So.
Right.
And
there's something missing if you're
right.
Yeah.
If your kids have been failing a lot, so having a perfect class is great because that means you manage to get every kid, because you'll always have a few.
Right.
Always going to be that one kid who just screwed around the entire class like Colton.
The only reason I screwed around in my class was because I was learning how to drive from my father beforehand.
Right?
Like, I learned all that stuff way before all of them did, so I was like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny, when I took my motorcycle class, even my teacher was like, you should have passed with flying colors. I'm like, yeah, you're right, I should have. I'm like, did I still pass? He's like, yeah, you did, but you didn't come out with like 100. I'm like, that's fair. He's like, you've been riding since you were 12. I'm like, yep.
That's the thing. Like, those are usually my worst kids.
Yeah.
The ones that, because they'll trip up on things like stop signs.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they learned from their dad, and in the 80s, you stopped at the stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
Now we stop at the crosswalk. And if there's no crosswalk, you make up a crosswalk in your head and stop at that crosswalk. And only if there are no crosswalks or no sidewalks, then do you stop at the edge of the street. But the stop sign means nothing. And they'll mess that up because they learned it from their dad. Then they don't listen to me in class.
Learned it from their parents.
Okay,
yeah.
we changed that law since your dad drove, so don't do it. They won't listen to me. And so then they go out and they fail the test because of that. And I'm like, well, no, wait, you should have listened to me. I said, we changed that law.
Did they change the law? I'm actually curious about this now since you're in it. Did they change the law about stoplights, like turn signal stoplights, that you can actually, if there is nobody there, you can actually turn if it's still red?
Not right. You can turn left.
I mean left,
sorry,
you know
not
what I mean
left.
now.
You can turn right.
Oh, okay.
Cross traffic on a red light. And if it's unprotected. If it's protected. If it's a protected left, you cannot go across traffic on a red signal at any point, ever, for any reason.
Okay.
So if you're crossing opposing traffic at any point, even if there's no traffic in the opposing traffic lane, that's one that always confuses the kids too.
Someone said something about it, and I was like, I don't think that's an actual rule, but okay.
Yep, you can say, I've got a buddy who's a driving instructor. You can ask him.
I mean, you have to be up to date with all the driving laws.
Becoming versed in like international driving laws because that's fascinating.
Yeah, because theirs are all different.
Not all that different, but yeah, it's also
Not really, but they do have a few different rules than we do.
It's because there was a Geneva Convention on it.
Uh-huh.
I'm using my pen here. What's going on? Hello.
It was because of Geneva?
There was a Geneva Convention type thing, UN convention, stuff like that, where they ratified. What's going on? The system slowed down all of a sudden to a crawl. They ratified a lot of the driving laws, and then we decided not to get into it, which
That makes sense.
What's going on? Hey, what's up? What is up with my pen? Time to swap out pens. I'll bet you that my pen just ran out of juice. I'm aggravated that we've decided to all switch.
Chargeable pen?
Huh?
You have to charge your pen?
Yeah.
Huh.
It irritates me too because this is one of those things where it's like, really? We could have just used the pens that didn't charge. Those work just fine. But apparently that's not what we want to do in the world. so, yeah. They go a long time between charges, but still require charging. It's irritating because, of course.
Yeah, every time G's been inviting Win up all the time, and it's been nice because he comes and finds me after every show.
What's happening?
Oh, at all the shows that you guys been doing, or what G's been doing, and all that. Like he'll invite Win from the Springs, Win Green, and then I'll bring. He'll as soon as he gets up here, he's like, "Where are you at?" I'm like, "I'm at work." He's like, "When are you off?" Like, this time, he's like, "All right, cool. I'll come find you after we're done." I'm like, "Okay." So then we'll go hang out for the night.
Nice.
That's been nice for me. But that's also kind of where I've came up with that scenario of like I need to change my work schedule so I can start hanging out with friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. So, here is the standing rule for left turns on red. You cannot make a left turn in an unprotected or in a protected signal. So if the signal is protected, you can't make a left turn. And that means if it's a red signal. So if the signal is red, like a left arrow or
That makes it protected?
That's protected. Yeah, the way I tell the kids to think about it is the state is protecting your butt. If the state's protecting you, then it's a protected intersection. It's the state protecting you, as in there's a signal. The signal is protecting you from oncoming traffic. So if the signal turns to a yellow flashing arrow, or it's just a green light, then it's what we call unprotected. The state's no longer protecting you from oncoming traffic. It's up to you to be on your own. And
Up to you to prevent these forest fires.
Right? So that's the way I tell the kids to remember it, because it's easier for them to remember.
I like that.
So, but it's the same thing. Brent's talking about motorcycles not being heavy enough to trip the sensor. So, first of all, let me tell you right now, the sensor is not a weight sensor. It's a magnet sensor. So it detects metal. It doesn't detect weight. So it's got a magnet in it, and when something metal goes over it, the magnet goes click and attaches to the sensor. So it's not a matter of how heavy your vehicle is. It's a matter of how close your vehicle is to the magnet and whether the magnet trips or not. That causes that sensor to go. And that's one of the reasons why I say if you're in a motorcycle and you have not tripped the sensor, back your motorcycle up and then pull towards the center of the sensor.
Right.
Because you've got metal in the motorcycle. It will trip the sensor at some point. You just may have to back up and move a little bit, wiggle the bike back and forth across the sensor platform until you're centered. Usually that magnet's dead center, right in the middle. You can kind of see where they've cut the road to put the sensor, and it looks like two doors. And there's a line through the middle. That should be where the sensor is. So just make sure your bike is lined up over that center cut. Then, yes, And you can always go on a red if you have to. But the safer plan, Brent, if you're having a problem with a left turn and it won't change, and you've gone through 2 cycles of the light, then your safer bet is to just go straight. Get back into traffic and go straight through the light and then make a left turn at the next light and come back. So that's your bet. That's what they would like for you to do. And then report it to the city engineers. So call the non-emergency line of the police. That would be what your local resident driving instructor recommends. You are welcome. Free driving advice. I actually really love driving. I love driving cars. I love learning all this stuff. And the other thing that's happened is that my driving school is going to let me help them make the new slides for the classes. Because there's a few things that they're missing, the least of which is there's not a single mention of electric cars. And whenever I brought it up to them, they were like, well, electric cars aren't that popular yet. And I said, okay, in the classes I've got right now, 2 of the kids left this class and got into an electric and drove off. 1 Tesla and 1 Nissan Leaf. I only had 10 kids. That's 20%. And they were like,
Right.
oh. And I'm like, and I have an electric in my household, so my house is 50% electric. You know,
Mhm.
I don't like. So I mean, it's a matter of they're a big enough deal, but also I feel like electrics are a superior car, superior vehicle. It's not a matter of politics. This is just they have fewer parts. They require less maintenance. They're cheaper to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
And the infrastructure gets better and better and better with them every year, literally. So it is getting markedly easier every year to drive an electric. And you know, and so it's only a matter of time. And I think that most of my kids will be in electrics within the next few years.
Right.
So not telling them how electrics work, and they do drive differently than gas cars. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but I mean, we go through an awful lot of effort in our class to explain how a manual transmission works. And as much as I absolutely adore manual transmissions and think we all should be driving manuals,
I do a point.
Yeah, they're dodos. They're going the way of a dinosaur. They're leaving. It took a lot of effort. I had to buy my car from like near where Brent is to get a manual. That's how much effort it took. They had to order me one from Kansas. And when I got it, it had 8 miles on it. I've never seen a car with 8 miles on it before. 8
That's kind of weird.
Because nobody had driven it. You know, it was straight from the factory, gotten off the ship. They shipped it straight to me because I special ordered a manual. That's too much effort. Nobody's going to do that anymore. So manuals, but we've got an entire like hour-long class on driving manuals. On the 30 hours, 1 hour is devoted to manuals. And I'm like, okay, but the truth is, you probably won't be driving a manual. And really what they'll be driving is likely going to be electric.
With how everything's going, everybody's going automatic.
Yeah. But electrics don't have gears. So there's no shifting. So what do you do in an emergency? How do you downshift? What do you do? How do you...
That's the part that's hard for me because like growing up, like I knew how to, like I learned how to drift so I can get out of snowing accidents. Like if you slide or whatnot, it's easier on a manual to get out of certain scenarios like that.
That's why I drive them.
But automatics, not so much. There are ways to do it, but it's definitely
It's a thinking
I don't feel like
process.
it's efficient.
Yeah, it's a thinking process and an automatic. Don't like it. I don't like automatics deciding what gear I'm supposed to be in. I don't like that at all. And I mean, I have issues all the way across with automatics. You're not alone. However, electrics don't have any of those problems. First of all, an electric
Well, they
has
should.
a
I'm joking.
electric has a power band all the way up. So unlike a gas cars have a power band from 1,000 RPMs to about 3,000 RPMs, and then the power starts to fall off, and that's why we have to shift gears. An electric has 100% torque and 100% speed all the way up. So
I know a lot of friends that as soon as they switch to electrics, like they have Teslas and whatnot, and they're like, I'm not turning back. I like them so much.
We went to the Leaf, and when we first got the Leaf, because of course my wife is a Californian hippie. You know, she's straight up, you know, we're getting an electric car to save the planet and all of that stuff. And I'm like, okay, whatever, new toy. Because you know,
you're like, all right, I can play with something.
I get to play with it, so I don't care what your mission statement is. I get to play with it. You know, I'll honor your mission statement and still get to play with the toy. So it's like,
right.
But it was funny because the guy at the dealership took her for a test drive in it, and then took me for a test drive, and he had talked to us for a while. And when he took her for a test drive, he showed her the economy mode. He showed her how to recirculate the batteries. He
played off both of you. That's awesome.
And then when he put me in the car, he's like, stand on it. And I'm like, what? He goes, stand on it. And I did. And that thing took off. And I have never had a vehicle go that fast. And I used to race. And I've never had a vehicle take off that fast. And I'm like, I'm sold. And he's like, yep.
And I'll take this one, sir.
I'm like,
thank you.
I actually I beat the doors. I beat the sides off of a Harley with that thing.
That one's
the old rule: you never race bikes.
Yeah, no.
Except that apparently I do now.
That doesn't surprise me actually, with how electric works and how fast you can get off the line now.
It's ridiculous.
It doesn't surprise me that you could easily beat a Harley or whatnot.
Yeah, I've never tried to take down a rice burner yet, and that's probably like the most un-PC name for Japanese bikes, and I'm so sorry. Especially as someone who loves and respects Japan. I feel dirty for saying it. However, I'm talking about that entire class of bikes. You know, the little fast speed bikes. I've never tried to take on one of those guys yet.
The Rice Rockets?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
When growing up, I was going to go that route and buy those. But then after riding one and realizing I was going to kill myself on purpose,
yeah,
that's when I was like, yeah, we're not doing this.
That's sort of, I have every time, and I love you both because I know you and Brent are both bike people. However, every time I'm like, whenever I start the class, I'm always like, okay, what kind of cars are you going to get, guys? Because it's a good icebreaker, right? Because we're all in here to learn to drive. So, it's a good icebreaker. We pretty much, I don't have to ask about, your family life or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always like, so what kind of, and then whenever there's a kid that's like, oh, I'm getting a motorcycle, I say, okay, so when we get to the part where we talk about organ donation, please make sure you sign your card.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, I'm like, I have strong opinions about bikes. Sorry, but it's true.
Once we get to the part about organ donation, what?
Yeah, make sure you sign your cards, guys. Sign your driver's license for organ donation.
That's funny.
I love you, people. I love you. I love Brent. I know you're both bike people, but I have seen some horrible wrecks with bikes.
I have too.
And
That's even the worst part. I have seen those rigs. And I still want to do
there's
it.
nothing in there that's protecting your butt. And there's no, you don't have any airbags, you don't have side impact door beams, you don't have, there's just nothing protecting your butt. And that just worries the hell out of me.
Yep, we got nothing.
But you're big boys, and you can do whatever the hell you want. But I'm going to make arguments about it because I love you both and I don't want you to die. You know how that goes. Yeah, well, that's where I am. I've definitely signed organ donor. I'm like, if I die, take it. I'm not using it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for me to keep it. I'm good. Besides, if you organ donor, they'll often cremate you for free.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did not know that.
So it helps a lot if you're, worried about money and stuff. There we go. Page 27 is out the door. Sealed up, signed, sealed, and delivered. While I, preachified about bikes. Well, hell.
Oh, damn it.
That's 30.
Well, what am I going to do here? You can, in Colorado now, you can actually have your body composted and turned into a tree.
I like that. You can what?
Have your body composted and turned into a tree. Legally.
That's cool.
Helmet and the other shots that I rendered for her. So I gotta take her helmet off for this. Patch. Because she's not wearing a helmet. Nothing I could do about that. That was a mistake I made early on because I didn't want to screw around with helmets. It's kind of a bummer. I was hoping to get one more panel done today, but I will. I think this meeting I'll be able to get out the door because I got a kiddo is going to a friend's house today, and I am glad because I've been hoping
Free.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna take a nap, but that's okay. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to actually do a ton of crap for IndieK. Really needs to happen. But I've been hoping to get Kiddo to hang with his buddies all summer instead of sitting around here playing video games. It happened, a week before school starts, but it's still, I managed. Pull that off. Call that something open. So there's that. There's that. You okay over there?
Me?
Yeah, I guess it didn't come from you. Must have come from the music or something. Funny.
Oh.
I don't know.
I was just uploading my pictures.
Clearly not a big problem for that. It's not necessarily something that goes very well.
Oh, I finished this. I don't know if I showed you. I don't know if you saw it yet or not.
Oh, good. I did go ahead.
Yeah.
That was. Seems like an eternity ago we were working on that one.
3 months ago.
There you go.
Definitely feels like an eternity still, but yeah.
That was a long ass time ago, man.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be done in here in just a second. Apparently, she doesn't believe in helmets. It's a thing. Maybe she thinks she's cute without a helmet. I don't know. Trying to think. She's Deistati, so she probably is much more acclimated to space life than anybody else. But that's kind of like saying, you're from Colorado, so you're much more acclimated to driving cars than other people. Well, yeah, but only slightly.
Yeah, that's also like saying, hey, you're from Colorado, you ski, right?
Right. Kind of one of those things we probably shouldn't, pigeonhole her as a character, except because she does that. She looks weird because that's the cheek. Which is fine. Her cheeks are a little chubbier than I give credit for. Hey, did you hear that Trey Parker and they're trying to revive Casa Bonita, and
I
their
heard something about
discovery
that.
is that it's like the world's worst kitchen nightmare.
I heard something about them trying to bring it back, and I was like, you guys have fun with that. Like, it's
Well,
still
yeah,
a
but
thing.
They've been
But-
trying to get it back, and the problem they're having is that nobody had cleaned that place in years.
Yeah.
So it was a nightmare to bring it just back up to like health code was becoming
Mhm.
a problem. it was,
Good thing they make a lot of money. How's South Park?
Oh yeah, and it's cool. Like they said, they're not giving up.
Right.
But boy, it's costing them.
Mm-hmm.
It's costing them a pretty penny to fix it.
Right.
So I find.
Yeah, that was the part when I first heard they were taking over it. I was like, oh, that's gonna be fun. Because as soon as they take over, that's what I was waiting for, the health code thing. I was like, yep. Because I remember I had a friend that worked there, and she told me the health code is terrible.
Yeah.
And also that she said, like, literally all the food that you guys are getting is just microwavable meals. I'm like, yeah, I figured that much.
Well, we knew that. We've known that for years.
It's literally what you're buying out of, like, Walmart or whatnot, their freezer section.
Oh, yeah. You didn't go there for that. I used that, actually, as an argument during an NDK meeting. Because one of the things
really?
I'm trying to get people to understand the board is that people don't come to NDK to watch anime. You can watch anime on Crunchyroll on your phone. So we need to make NDK an experience. You come to NDK to do. And I've been trying, it's called the Disneyfication. I call it the Disneyfication.
I mean, it's still good to have your rooms, the AMV rooms and that,
sure,
that you guys do have, and the video rooms, but those are, most people that went in those were late night people that didn't want to go to bed and didn't want to go back to their room.
Right. And of course, Amanda doesn't want that to be the case. So
yeah,
we're fighting that one. We don't.
But also, you guys don't do premieres. If you guys are getting like premiere space, like premiere, like, hey, you're the ones that are going to be able to show these first episodes of this show, that's a different story. Then you should have those rooms. But if you don't have those rooms and you're not really doing that kind of stuff, you really don't need them. Really.
Yeah. Well, what I'm doing is I'm pivoting. I'm putting in those rooms, I'm doing activities. So
yeah,
build your Gundams while watching Gundam, right?
That's a better one to do.
Like here's what I'm getting into is I'm getting into Gunpla, right? Here's my little Gunpla guy.
I love Gunpla. I have like
78.
I have 5 of them up there that I still need to fix.
Right? But this guy's like totally posable. I mean, like his legs are super posable. He's really cool. Anyway,
is that your first Gunpla?
It's my first little Gunpla. Well, yeah, it's my first Gunpla. It's my first Gunpla. Leave me alone. I found it at the little game store.
They're amazing. I love Gunpla. I have a whole bunch of them.
Right? So
you build your Gunpla while playing Gunpla, while watching Gunpla.
We're going to have people building Gunpla while watching Gundam.
They're great. They're great pastime, and too. Like, I remember, 1 year of NDK, me and my friend were literally sitting there she was helping out with your costume contest. And she literally came over with her own Gunpla, and she's like, I'm hanging out here now. I'm like, oh, we're doing this now? So I pulled out mine, and we sat there while we were talking to customers, just building Gunpla.
There you go.
It was only for 30 minutes, but still, it was something. She's like, this is nice. I'm like, yeah, anytime you want to come back over, let me know. You probably know her. What's she go by?
Yes, I totally know.
Shouldn't be doing it on spam. Let's try that again, because everybody has weird names in this.
Yeah, I know. It's hang on real quick. Make sure my kid's up and moving.
How?
Hi, are you up?
Yeah, Mandy. Okay.
Yep. Kiddo's going off to see the kid and
Nice.
his friends, and
You know Mandy Johnson, right?
Mandy who?
Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah. She was the one that she came over was like, I'm playing Gunpla with you. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, that was one of the things, like, that's good that you guys are utilizing those spaces better now.
Well, that's the idea.
Because also, like you said, streaming services have taken over, and no one really needs to go to an AMV room. And I don't even think AMVs are really a thing anymore.
They're still somewhat popular. I'm not that worried about AMVs.
Like, I think still having, like, 1 or 2 anime rooms is still gonna be a beneficial thing for, like, the people that do want to go in. But most of the time, I don't really think it's gonna be anything. Because I don't even think Anime Expo does those anymore.
No, that's the thing that's what we're trying to explain is that at the moment, nobody's really doing that anymore, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. What I'm trying, though, to get people to understand is that we can still use those rooms. We just have to do something else.
Right. But I totally, example, I mean, yeah, it gets something else that you guys can utilize it for. I mean,
yeah, like
also
get one of the actors in there, and then do okay. So during this scene, we were doing this thing, and during that scene, we were doing that thing. You know, that would be
kind of like insiders to a voice actor's world. Yeah,
exactly.
Behind the curtain,
right?
No, and I get that.
Yeah, so that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, let's see if I can find just look at this sort of thing. So I find a pose that's kind of like.
But yeah, it's one of those ones that like it's something that you can always work around. Like that's an easy workaround. Changing panels though, especially this far out. Because you guys still have a whole month and a half now.
Yeah, we've got.
Yeah, pretty much a month. It's September 4th.
A little
14th,
over a month.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, guy. Yes, hold on. This is our logo for our sketch crew. I think it's awesome.
Oh, I love it. His kick butt.
You got your markers, you got your pencils, you got your mechanical pencils, you got your
have, like,
stylists.
I dig.
My teacher runs it, and he's like, "I just made the logo, and I did a Society 6 thing, so you can just buy random stuff that is on there with the logo on it." I'm like, okay, cool. I was like, coffee mug? Coffee mug. Never can have too many coffee mugs.
Agreed.
Ooh, rear tire on your bike. What happened to your rear tire? Or is it just just the rubber?
No, somebody sliced them.
Mm-mm. Dude, that's an expensive little thing. What bike do you have, Brent? Yeah, there's so many things you can do, though. Someone put a screw in the rear tire. That sucks. In the sidewall? I'm guessing the sidewall.
Yeah, because you can't fix this.
Oh, V-Star. Yeah, those tires are kind of big. Those back tires are. I have a friend that's been building his own bikes. In the tread, you could probably just plug it. If it's in the tread, you could probably just plug it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's not in the sidewall.
Yeah, if it's in the sidewall, I would say definitely new tire, but if it's the tread, you could easily just plug it. The hole's too big. What size of screw did they use? But yeah.
much more complicated.
Oh, are they reaching over? Okay.
No,
like,
he's pointing past her out the front and saying, "Hey, LT, you seeing this?"
Uh-huh.
And that's fine, but I got to get both of them in here. And this is one of those where it's difficult to get kind of both
Comic magic
in here.
That's a big screw if it's that big of a hole. Damn. Because I did that when I was I worked in like an industrial zone, and I picked up a nail, and I actually was able to patch it because it was just a regular screw, and I was like, damn it. And which was also great because where I worked, my brother worked there, so he had the patch kit and everything on him. He's like, "Here, I got you." I'm like, "All right." So I pulled it into the garage, popped out the screw, popped in the plug, and then we filled it back up with air. And he's like, "There you go, have fun." And then I bought a tire 2 months later because the tread was already going that low, but I also was driving it every day. So, Guy, how is doing the basics of animation?
Do what?
How is doing the basics of animation? What you're doing right now is like literally keyframes of animation.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're keyframing. 3D
exactly
animation keyframe.
Yeah, I'm keyframing my animation, so.
I just think it's funny. I was just watching you. I was like, you're literally doing what animators do on a regular, on like a keyframe.
That's why I do it. Right? Because I have an animation degree.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, that's what happened. I was working in my degree, and I was like, I could easily do this for my comics. It should be the same process, nothing different. So that's exactly what I did. So,
all right.
Behold, here I am doing the thing. Yeah.
So proud.
But yeah, I think I am. This is a good one. This is good enough that hey, LT, looking out the window, looking over the shoulder. I'll render this there, and then I'll go out tonight.
I'm heading out because I got to go to work.
Well, yeah, because I've got to head out too.
It's also 11 too, so I don't know if you want to keep going or not. That's up to you.
Well, I'm gonna just save this. Otherwise, I won't remember. All right, my friend. It was good having you here.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you back.
Good seeing you and Brent again.
Kind of a bummer you're not, you're not at vacation anymore, but still, it's good to have you back.
Nah, literally the only downfall of coming back from vacation was like I just didn't want to go back to work.
Thanks.
Everything else I wanted to come back to.
Also,
that's the sad part. I'm just like, yep. And that's when I also had the realization, like, I really need to change something. See, I should never. I feel like you should never have that feeling of like, even when you get off vacation, the first thing that comes to your mind is like, crap, I have to go back. I really don't want to do this.
Right.
And that's literally was my thought. And I was like, crap, I really need to make a change. So we'll see. I don't know. I applied to a few jobs this past week. Well, this month. And we'll see what comes.
Try to change.
I've randomly applied for the past. Say what?
Just trying to change your sort of shake it up so you have some free time.
Shake it up, different work schedule, so I can like focus on school more and also have a better work-to-life balance. Is what I'm really trying to go for. I don't know if if I change positions in the company, it's going to work. I don't think that's really worked every time I've done it yet, and I've done it 3 times in the past 2 years. But they're all promotional wise. I got paid more each time I did it. So, like, it shows progression.
Right.
But I don't know. And every time, it's usually within this company that is the reason why I think most of my work-life balance is. That's why I'm, like, I applied for a different position within the company to see if that might help out. But also I applied to a few other jobs outside of the company to see what happens. One of them might be out of state. we'll find out. Haven't heard back from them yet, but we'll see.
Right.
And that one was only because I found it on the school's job board. They have like a school job board, and I was like, that's kind of right up my alley for what I do right now, but more in an artist world. It's being a driver for fine art and delivering it to exhibits. Like a fine art handler is what it's called. And I was like, that sounds like fun. I could have fun with that.
Yeah. Right.
Being a driver, driving around town, and just delivering paintings, sculptures, things like that, learning how to package them properly to put them in the truck. Like,
And it would give you something that would be useful for you.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds like fun. That sounds like something that I can like go talk to people and like network and things like that, and just have a good old time. And it pays a lot more than what it pays here, but it's also cost of living's different too. But we'll see. I don't know. I hope they call me back, but at the same time, I'm out of state. They might not do it, but also they see that my school's in the same town as theirs. They might just say, hey, this actually might work out better for you because you can just do a quick swap. I'm like, yeah, I can make it quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was extraordinarily useful having my dad having a frame shop.
Yeah.
I learned a whole lot about mounting pictures, putting them up on frames, how to frame them, that kind of thing. And a lot of the artwork.
I learned a lot through Crozier.
Yeah, this is pretty much the only thing that's my dad's work, but that was definitely his. He built a shadow box that his violin could sit in.
I was wondering, that looked
high
like
violin sitting in it.
Nice.
So it's pretty.
That was one of the ones I was looking like Crozier when he did the little art exhibits for the comic book artists there for a while. Like I walked in and I watched him do some stuff. I'm like, that's how that works. I never knew that. Okay, this makes sense.
Well, I've been watching a lot of people put up AI generated art, and I'm starting to think that the days of us doing illustrations for Magic and stuff like that are coming to an end.
Yes and no.
I mean, we can talk about this at length tomorrow.
Yeah, we have to talk to late because I also got school.
To go, but something I'm thinking about. So, physical art, building art, doing things, telling stories. That stuff AI can't do. So, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to pivot a little bit too and try to get out.
You're doing this tonight, right?
Yeah, I'll be on tonight.
Remind me, and I'll see
I'll
where
be on
I'm
at
at.
10 o'clock tonight until midnight. I've got 2 more frames left, and then we are clear, and then I'm going to have to sit there and dink with that. But with 2 more
just
frames...
remind me tonight, and then I'll probably jump on, and we can talk more about AI-generated stuff, because it's been a big conversation in my concept art group right now.
Yeah, and Can has things. By the way, we're trying to remember to call him Can, because that's his online name.
Okay.
So, it's not because of anything other than we just want to make sure we're branding. So it's not like he's decided his name is Can.
Oh, okay. That's all right. So I was about to ask. I'm like, is that a person?
Yeah, this isn't like a pivot name. It's just
brand name.
Just trying to brand. And I don't like being called GS, so
that's what I was about to ask. I'm like, you want to be called GS? I can do that.
Yeah, no, not really.
It'd be weird, but I'll do it.
Because that'd be weird and it'd be uncomfortable, and I wouldn't like it. So,
as I say, I've been in the video gaming scene for so long. I know how to call people by their screen names.
Right. I don't, but that's okay. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go take my kid to the thing.
All right.
I will talk to you later. Bye.
Have a good night,
Bye,
everybody.
See you tonight.
Later, Brett.